Hello there. Today I'll be reading you a book called The Forest Heart, written by Lindsey. It's a fantasy bedtime story that I really do hope you enjoy. This is the time to just sit back, relax, and just enjoy it. You can imagine, or you can just have it in the background, being a little background noise for yourself. And so we begin. She took her first breath in a grove of towering aspen trees, under the shadow of a hummingbird's wing. Her mother was the melody of the mountain stream, and her father was a glitter of sunlight through the coin-shaped leaves. The forest cared for her, swaddled her in wildflowers, and sustained her with birdsong. When she cried, the butterflies kissed her cheeks and dried her tears. She grew strong and fast, and in only a few years she was so tall, taller than the saplings that sprouted on the day of her birth, taller than the fawns that once grew up from when she was young. When the nights were cold, she sat and slept beside the fawns, curled up against their spotted backs, while their mothers sang lullabies and told stories. On warm spring evenings, she lay on the bed of moss, sweet-smelling fallen leaves, aerating throughout. She played with bluebirds, who taught her to sing. She raced the coyote pups along the dry stream bed. On rainy days, when the earth smelt of sky, she wandered down to the mountain lake and swam with the river otters. She lived a contented life for so many years in the little grove. The woods and the mountainside loved her dearly. They knew the sound of her footsteps and the touch of her fingers against them. Even the most fearsome creatures were tame in her presence. The bears told her where to find the sweetest honey. The chorus of wolves sang her to sleep with their howls of harmony, hoping to see her smile. Even the mountain lion tipped his regal head in her direction as he walked, and started to stalk in search of prey. She was a forest very hard. One day she awoke a strange sound in the woods. Voices, clumsy and ill-defined, not lofty like birdsong or steady like a doe's murmur. She climbed to the top of an old pine tree, who straightened with a joy at her touch. A man and his son rambled through the woods, snapping limbs from sapling trees and trampling larkspur underfoot. The man was tall and thin, and the boy stood about the girl's height with a smile cool as the riverbed. She watched all day from a distance as they cleared a space in the aspen grove to make camp, gathered wood, made a fire, pulled fish from the lake with a stick and string, and roasted them over the flames they created. When night fell, the forest held a hushed conference about the strangers. The nervous squirrels chittered, the bucks stamped their hooves, and the owls quieted everyone down to warn them. No one was to go near these trespassers, especially not the girl. The next morning, the girl licked dewdrops from the wild mint leaves and wandered the woods, avoiding that spot where the man and his son lay sleeping. She hummed to herself as she walked, and did not even notice the boy, who had risen at the sound of her song and started to follow it. "What's your name?" he asked as he approached, and the forest grew deadly still. The girl did not have a name. She didn't know what names were. there was no use for such a thing in the forest, for the creatures knew one another too intimately for names. "Your name?" he asked again, slowly. She shrugged, and he started to frown. "Okay, I'm Liam." "Liam?" she replied, letting the word fall from her tongue like overripe berries from a vine. He nodded and stepped towards her, hand outstretched, and in his palm rested a hand-carved wooden rabbit, one of the most beautiful and strange things she'd ever seen. Hesitantly, obviously, knowing that the disapproving trees were watching, she snatched the rabbit from him and dashed away, vanishing into the woods. The man and his son stayed in the grove one more day. Neither caught a glimpse of the girl in that time, and the man was quite convinced that his son had dreamt of her, the girl in the forest. But Liam knew the truth, and so did the forest. After the trespassers left, the girl clung tightly to the wooden rabbit and whispered her wishes in its ear. The creatures in the forest told her to forget the boy, begged her to join the game, but for weeks, for so long, she could not bring herself to do either. A year passed, and somewhere in that time, the girl nearly forgot about Liam. She left the wooden rabbit under the old pine tree. She played once more with the otters and sang with the sparrows. The forest was whole again, whole and happy. Then, as everything seemed to be coming back to normal, Liam and his father returned. This time the girl was bolder than usual, and met Liam in the grove while his father fished down at the lake. He didn't look up from the fire when she appeared. He only smiled into the gentle flames. I knew you were real," he whispered. She smiled back. Liam and his father returned to the woods every spring, each year much to the forest's disapproving, watchful eye. Liam and the girl stole a moment together beneath the shade of the pine branches, nestled in scented, fallen needles that clung to their skin. They talked and they laughed. The girl claimed to love speaking in Liam's clumsy tongue, just as he came to love how well she knew the forest, how deeply she belonged to it. The third year they met. Liam stole a kiss from the girl underneath the pine tree. The fourth year, the girl stole 2 kisses, and Liam stole a caress of the girl's wildflower skin. One day, after many years of stealing kisses, they stole much more from one another, and lingered in the shade of the pine trees in breathless reverie. Shortly after that day, Liam and his father departed the woods again. The girl fell ill. The forest did not scold, only sighed at the inevitability of it all, and nursed her as best as they could. And in time, she grew better and stronger, and she grew fuller too. And she felt the terrifying exhilaration of life within her. She bore a child underneath the shade of the aspen tree, a daughter with wildflower skin and eyes full of wishes. The girl gave her daughter the little wooden rabbit to play with, and when spring came, the 2 of them waited underneath the pine tree for Liam's return. But this time, when he did return, it was without his father. His cool smile did not last long. His contentness grew dark at the sight of his daughter, sleeping right beside the forest heart, on a bed of pine needles. He knew that this child, like her mother, was not human, at least not quite, and that knowledge made him tremble. Liam could not hear the girls' voices, over the sound of his fear, rushing in white wrappers within his ears. He raged more at himself than the girl, but the forest heard and bristled at his fury. The girl did not weep, did not plead, as he turned and started to head back down the mountainside. She simply picked up her daughter and left the shade of the palm trees for the last time with a soft goodbye. The girl could not forgive, but she did forget, and the forest could not forgive or forget. Liam did not make it down the mountainside that day. When the girl discovered what the forest had done, she went out in search of Liam's body, thinking she might bury the man she loved underneath the pine tree where they made love. She left her daughter beside the fawns in the tender care of Aspen Grove, where she herself was raised, promising to return one day. She searched for days. The forest would not tell her where he lay, so she wandered in aimless grief. With gentle chirps, the bird cautioned her to go back to her daughter, but she did not. The wolves invited her to add to her loss, and to add to the somber song, and allow herself to heal, but she did not. The mountain lion said nothing, merely nuzzled her hand and pointed her home. But she would not stray further. She would continue to look for Liam. The forest wept with her, for her, bitter tears of regret and love. When she found him lying in a field of larkspur and thistles, with his eyes open to the sun, she stood over him with tears in her eyes. The very heart of the forest lay down beside the man she loved, and the man who would not rise. Year after year, and even to this day, all the creatures of the forest gather at the edge of the field in early spring. They bring with her the girl's daughter to show her the wildflowers which bloom over the place where her parents lie. And that's the end of the story. Hopefully you like it. That's very much a sort of trial of me trying to do stories, but it'll be good to see how it actually goes, if it's sort of made you feel more calm, relaxed, or if you just enjoyed listening. But happy to hear back from the comments, happy to hear back on any feedback, and hopefully enjoyed. Thank you for listening.